Okay, hello everyone.
Hi.
We're back and we thought about doing a second video about a book haul and to show you the last books that we've bought. Mainly because in that way you will be able to see a bit of how we read and what we read, what we're interested in at the moment, and so on and so forth. So
Yes.
yes, she agrees.
I do agree. So, the first book I have purchased recently is second hand, by the way, and it's a French
Collages.
word. I have no idea. By Anaïs Nin. I have no idea what this is, other than the fact that it's Anaïs Nin. I've never seen this title, I guess, before. I'm guessing it's a anthology sort of maybe short stories. Yes, probably erotica, but I don't know. It's very rare to actually find books by Anaïs Nin, let alone at an affordable price, so I had to get this. I'm just gonna read a bit from the back.
Okay.
So Anaïs Nin reveals the kaleidoscopic patterns of life with the vividness of dreams. Set against the continually changing backgrounds of Vienna, Mexico, California, and New York, we encounter, among others, the girl Raven, who becomes interchangeable with her pet bird. Wow. The old lifeguard, who prefers to live and die with seals rather than with garrulous family, and the artist, frustrated by his scientific daughter's inability to comprehend the beauty of this array. I don't know even how much I'm going to enjoy this. I mean, besides her journals, I'm not like the biggest fan in the world, but I think it's going to be interesting, and I like that it's secondhand because
It has its history.
Yeah, it has a bit more personality.
Okay, I've got something slightly different, which is Neil Gaiman's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. I've read American Gods, Stardust, and The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, and I have to admit I enjoyed the movie Stardust more than the book, which is rare for me.
I do want to mention I have no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, but haven't you read American Gods?
No,
You haven't?
I think I watched
Okay.
a few episodes of a series, but that's about it. And I read Neverwhere, was it?
Yeah.
It was fun, but and I'm not entirely sure if I've read this one or not. I might have quite a long time ago, and I thought it was very average. But
Thanks for praising it to the people and to me. I really like these illustrated editions. I have the Graveyard Book in the same edition, and I don't know if you can see this, but it's got really nice illustrations.
I was going to make a remark about how you can't really see the illustrations because you won't open the book any
No, I won't. But this is illustrated by Elise Hurst. I have to say that my favorite of Neil Gaiman's books is The Graveyard Book, because it's very interesting how he depicts childhood, the childhood of this boy who has been raised by ghosts in a cemetery. So maybe you can check it out.
I'm interested in children.
I don't know what The Ocean at the End of the Lane is about, but I know that at some point it caught my attention, and so did Neverwhere. If you have other recommendations by Neil Gaiman, I'd be curious to know, and what you thought about this book as well.
Okay, so next up I have The Passion by Jeanette Winterson, and this one was a bit random in the sense that, again, I have no idea what it's about, but it's second hand as well, and I thought it was a really nice vintage edition. I guess it's a bit of an older edition by the looks of it. 2001, there we go. That's quite a long time ago. And I'd read Jeanette Winterson's Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal. Yeah, that's the title. And I really enjoyed Yeah, I really enjoyed her prose, even though it was kind of like a sequel to Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit, so that was a bit confusing, but not very. And I thought it would explore a bit more of her writing, and I saw this, so I thought, okay, why not? It's actually really interesting. I remember I read the summary, and it's really interesting. So Henry had a passion for Napoleon, and Napoleon had a passion for chicken. From Boulogne to Moscow, Henry butchered for his emperor and never killed a single man. Meanwhile, in Venice, the city of chance and disguises, Villanelle was born with the webbed feet of her boatman father, but in the casinos she gambled her heart and lost. As the soldier chef's love for Napoleon turns to hate, he finds the Venetian beauty, and together they flee to the canals of darkness. I don't know, how strange is that?
How obscure and mysterious.
Yes, I think I'm going to enjoy it. Actually, I think I'm going to read it soon.
Yeah,
it's quite short as well.
I think
So
that this is one of those slightly being an underestimation, but weird books.
yeah, I do enjoy my share of weird books. So we'll see. Maybe we'll do a video on it or something.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I won't read it probably. So my next book is one of these Penguin modern classics, and it's Daphne du Maurier, The Breakthrough. I hope I'm holding this right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. It says on the back that a scientist's attempt to solve the mystery of life after death has chilling consequences in this eerie tale from a virtuoso writer of suspense. And I mainly bought it because it reminded me a bit of The Mysterious Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which I'm going to read at some point soon. I've read Rebecca by this author, and you've asked me about this. Yeah, I did. I cannot say that it's one of my favorite books.
I can't remember almost anything from it. But I think I enjoyed it at the time, but it's not one of those that actually stays with me.
It was memorable for you. Yeah, I think I feel kind of the same, but that doesn't mean I'm not interested in the author. And I haven't read anything else by her, so I thought this was the right time to do it. It says here on the first page a quote from the book itself, or from the story. And it says, "Dispatch the maimed, the old, the weak, destroy the very world itself, for what is the point of life if the promise of fulfillment lies elsewhere?"
Oh, I like that.
I thought you would.
I really like
Sounds interesting. Of course, not something that I would endorse. Not at all. But I'd be curious to see what this is about, because this doesn't sound to me, at first glance, like something that would be similar to Rebecca. So we will have to see.
That's interesting. I might go with that, actually. We'll see. Next up, we have something very, 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 very important, which is The Collector by John Fowles. This is also secondhand, as you can tell. It's actually from a library in Rome, so that's really interesting that it has.
But she didn't get it from Rome herself.
Yeah, no, it was from online, but it's really interesting. I've been meaning to get my hands on this for a while. I've read The Magus and The French Lieutenant's Woman, is it? I think. And I really, really, really enjoy his writing. He's one of my favorite authors. And this is, I think every book of his is really different. And this is one that's a bit creepy, I think. It's about, it doesn't say what it's about. Oh god, I have to remember. I think it's about this man who collects butterflies, which is why it has a butterfly on the cover. And at one point he gets very obsessive about a woman. So that goes a bit the wrong way.
So unexpected.
Yeah, so I think it is basically stalking her and tries to kidnap her or something like that. I'm very, very excited to see how this goes.
I think there are many books with this kind of theme, with people developing an obsession for someone.
Yeah, I don't know why it brings Lolita to mind a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, these kind of books give me the creeps a bit
Mhm.
because they are generally about a man who develops such an obsessive passion for a woman, and
Yeah, it's a bit hard to read sometimes, depending on. I see that half of it, or more than half of it, is in the form of a journal. I'm
maybe you read
guessing-
from his point of view.
Yeah, possibly. So that should
Good
be.
luck with that.
Yeah.
This book, well, I think it contains two short stories by Shirley Jackson, but the title says The Missing Girl. And what it says on the back is malice, deception, and creeping dread lie beneath the surface of ordinary American life in these miniature masterworks. And here it says Miss X is walking the streets of the city completely alone, which made me feel very terrified.
Uncomfortable, definitely.
There are two stories listed in the contents, so The Missing Girl and Journey with a Lady. No, three. Journey with a Lady and Nightmare. I've never read anything by Shirley Jackson. I know about the Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I've heard about it. I'm curious about it, but I cannot say that I have
I've read.
made it a priority.
What was it? We have always lived in the castle.
In the castle, I think so.
Yeah, that's the
I
title.
think you can
I've read
find
it.
as well.
Again, I don't remember much from it. It was about this girl and her family and
Was it
creepy.
horror?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
creepy, definitely. But yeah, not in a way that I would remember.
It wasn't so memorable.
Yeah.
So I thought that instead of buying one of her better known works, I would start with something short,
Mm-hmm.
even though I'm not a big fan of short stories. But considering the time of year, again, I thought, why not?
You actually want to increase your count on Goodreads, don't you?
That's not true.
Next up, we have The Speckled People by Hugo Hamilton. As far as I know, it's a memoir of the author's childhood, maybe even adulthood, I'm not sure, as someone of German origin, I think, who immigrated to Ireland during the 1950s, it says. So it's kind of about, I guess getting used to being an immigrant, and also getting used to this whole environment that was in the.
Did you say the
Ireland.
person who emigrated was from Germany?
Yeah.
I think that might have played an important part in it because of Germans.
Yeah, I mean, as much as
Germans.
I've been able to read, they were quite mean to them.
Yeah.
You
That's
can imagine.
Very close to the end of the Second World War, so I don't imagine that must have been easy.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's about that kind of duality of having two different identities and coping with that. It says here, between his father's strict Irish nationalism and the softly spoken stories of his mother's German past, this little boy tells the tale of a whole family's homesickness for a country and a language they can call their own. Yeah, so I guess it's that feeling of
Looking
not
for your place.
not really belonging in either
Anywhere,
place. Yeah. So
Yeah, that should be interesting.
yeah, probably sad, but I'll get to it in a couple of weeks.
The next book is actually in Romanian. This is the book in Romanian, and it's called The Captain's Daughters. It's by a Spanish author called Maria Dueñas. I've also read another book by her. I think it's called in English The Time Between, or In the Time Between, I'm not sure. I think it's The Time in Between. Yeah,
There you
that sounds better. And from what I understand, this is a book about a family that leaves Spain, I guess before the Civil War in Spain, which occurred between 1936 and 1933, 1936 or 19...
I have no idea why you're asking me.
I think it's 1936, 1939, but then I'm not very sure. I'll have to check. And from what I know, and it's not a spoiler, but the father dies, and so his daughters have to make a living in the United States among the Spanish population that has also migrated from Spain.
It's kind of similar to...
It's kind of similar to the book that you've shown, yeah. Yeah, because I think they are, as opposed to what you've spoken about, these women are in the middle of a community that speaks the same language and they have the same culture somehow, even though Spain is diverse in its history and culture, but at the same time they all live in a different country and they have to make a living and they have to adapt to the rules and the norms and the customs of the US. So yeah, I'm really curious about this.
And the last book I have to show you is The Gathering by Anne Wright, maybe, perhaps. This is also an Irish book, so it's for uni as well. As far as I can tell, it's a sad one. I mean, honestly, the whole of Irish literature that I've read so far is so sad.
Sad.
Yeah, their literature is very, I want to say dramatic, but it's just this feeling of
Sadness.
things going wrong, or yeah. And this one is about the 9 surviving children of the Haggerty clan who gather in Dublin for the wake of their wayward brother Liam. It wasn't the drink that killed him, although that certainly helped. It was what happened to him as a boy in his grandmother's house in the winter of 1968. So it's a novel about love and disappointment, about thwarted lust and limitless desire, and how our fate is written in the body, not in the stars. That sounds really nice. Well, you know, it sounds interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of trauma, I feel like, in Irish literature, and a lot of violence and unfulfilled wishes and unfulfilled fates. And
it's good to read books like this to understand another country's culture and history and see tidbits of their lives.
Yeah, and you get a sense of their cultural essence in a way. You know, this kind of spirit that goes on in every generation. Yeah, sad.
And my last 2 books are books related to my passion for history. I studied politics and international relations, so that's a huge passion of mine. So this is On War by Karl von Clausewitz. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, but I don't know. And this book talks about, well, it says, On War is perhaps the greatest book ever written about war. This is a good start. The author was a Prussian soldier, so I guess he had a lot of experience from his own life that he drew in writing this book. And it says that he witnessed at first hand the immense destructive power of the French revolutionary armies, which swept across Europe between 1792 and 1815. So this is a very tumultuous period in time. He obviously has many things to talk about the French Revolution and how all these things pervaded Europe at that time. And I'm really, really curious to read this because I'm very passionate about war.
I can't believe you read this just casually.
I do. And the last book is this one by Andrew Roberts. It's Leadership in War. It's a very short book. Well, might not seem so, but it's short. And this one is very straightforward. It talks about different leaders during times of war. So as you have seen on the cover, such a nice image, that is Churchill. I think it also talks about Napoleon, Admiral Nelson, Hitler, Stalin, the French President Charles de Gaulle, and a few other people. And the conclusion talks about the leadership paradigm. So yeah, these books relate more to my passion for history and politics and to my degree.
Sounds slightly more interesting, I guess.
They both sound interesting.
Okay, sure. As you can tell, we have very different
tastes.
Directions.
Yeah,
in terms
yeah.
of reading.
We don't meet very often.
Yeah,
but
yeah, definitely.
We'll try to do that from time to time.
Yeah, we will. I think it's entertaining. It's also interesting to kind of explore different
more things. Yeah, we do try to influence each other, but it doesn't always work.
Not really. I mean, even if I do recommend a book, it takes you a while to get to it. So.
Yeah, but because especially now I read much slower than I used to,
True.
and I have to think about the recommendation. But I think all the books that you've recommended to me have been good. So this was it. These are the books that we wanted to talk about. We hope that you enjoyed them. We definitely will. We hope.
Hopefully.
And
we might come back with a haul
Yeah.
after Black Friday.
Who knows?
Yeah, that
or
might
after
happen.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Maybe
definitely.
after we've gathered more books. But until then, well, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.